When I was very young, my father taught me about a man named Martin Niemoller. I didn't realize it at the time, and I don't think he did either, but this was a gift of wisdom, and I've used it throughout my entire life. Martin Niemöller was a German theologian and a Lutheran pastor. He started out as a German nationalist supporting Hitler. Martin Niemoller didn't agree with everything on Hitler's political party platform, and over time, he slowly began to see the hatred, the propaganda, the lies, and the vilification. But it was too late. Hitler's regime had taken over, and they were too powerful and too dangerous. He'd watched and done nothing, and now it was too late. Niemöller was eventually put in prison by Hitler and considered an enemy of the state. Today, he is known for his staunch opposition to the Nazi Party during the late 1930s and for his widely quoted 1946 poem that's referred to as First They Came. Later in life, Niemöller would recite the verses to his university students, probably with the hopes that they would learn vicariously what he was not able to learn in time. Here's how his poem went. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. When we talk about the Holocaust, we're talking about a time when Hitler and his Nazi party exterminated 6 million human beings, men, women, and children who were Jewish, by starving, working them to death, and by stripping them naked and showering them with poison gas until they choked to death. He also tortured, murdered, and maimed large numbers of other groups of people, and throughout history, their stories have all but been lost. I'm not telling you this so you can compare barbaric treatment. I'm telling you this so you understand our real racial history. Hitler and his regime murdered and maimed groups of Black Germans, Russian, Polish prisoners of war, children and adults with disabilities, homosexual men, poor people, trade unionists, communists, and a group which he referred to in a way that's now considered an antiquated slur, gypsies. Now, this didn't happen in Germany overnight. It took years and years until it was finally normalized, and then it was too powerful a force to do anything about. So can you see the same thing that's happening here in the United States? Today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. It marks the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp. It is imperative that we learn the history of the horrendous atrocities done to the people of Jewish faith and all the other groups. Many of the non-Jewish groups of people were murdered just like the Jewish people were, but others were not. Instead, they were tortured, sterilized, experimented on, thrown out of the country, beaten up and harassed, thrown into the impoverished, poor sections of the country so that they would starve to death. Listen to these numbers. Approximately 15,000 gay men were murdered, and that's not counting the people who were kept alive, imprisoned, beat up, harassed, re-educated, sterilized, and starved. During the war, Nazi ran a children's euthanasia program where 5,000 children with various disabilities were secretly murdered, most of them by lethal injection or starvation. Its adult equivalent started in 1939. By the time it was shut down due to public outcry, 70,000 disabled adults had been murdered, euthanized by their own people. 3.3 million Soviet prisoners of war were murdered by the Nazi regime. Between 190,000 and 250,000 Romas and Sintis, what was antiquatedly referred to as gypsies, were murdered in gas chamber, starvation, imprisoned, and sterilization. At least 1.8 million non-Jewish Polish people were murdered by the regime. So what does all this hidden history have to do with Martin Niemöller's poem and how much it means to me? Let me read it one more time for you. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemoller wrote this poem with horrific regret for not having acted sooner on what he was watching before his very eyes. So what does Martin Niemöller's poem have to do with us today in the United States? I feel like Martin Niemöller's poem has been lost to history, and we're simply repeating all that he warned us about. We're only standing up if our group's being impacted. By then, it's too late. If you believe, like I do, that it is way past time for white America to start taking racial responsibility, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and my other platforms. I do live shows each Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern from my Facebook page and my YouTube channel called Angry Soccer Mom. Please consider joining in the fight for equity and justice for all in the United States. It's part of forming a more perfect union. Because you see, it might not be your group this time. When human and civil rights are systemically violated for other groups, it's just a matter of time until your group's next. Thanks for watching.